Welcome everyone to the another episode. In this episode, we have a Dr. Deborah Heiser all the way from New York, US. So she is the CEO and founder of the Mentor Project, author of the book Mentorship Edge, and applied developmental psychologist. So she has a featured in a TEDx, Marshall Goldsmith 100 Coaches, Thinkers 50 Readers list, Psychology Today, and is also adjunct professor in the psychology department at sunny old Westbury. So, welcome to the show, Dr. Deborah. In this episode, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on your show. I'm excited to be here.
It's my pleasure, and I'm excited to interview you in this podcast episode and learning more about the book you have written, which is the Mentorship Edge. I'm curious to know about what's the book about, how it can help our listeners today. So, walk me through before we get jump into about your book. How is your journey began as a CEO and founder of the Project Mentor Project, and also you're the psychologist as well. So, is there something you always wanted to be, like from childhood you knew about the career path, or like as you grow older, you figured out?
I really have taken a very squiggly path forward.
Mm,
It has not been a straight line. I did not grow up wanting to be a psychologist. I didn't even know what that was.
wow.
It wasn't until I went to visit my grandmother in an independent living facility area that she
Yeah.
belonged to. And she was the most fun grandma ever. I could just go there and not bring clothing and wear hers. She was like super, fun and exciting to be around. I was about between 19 or 20 or so when I went down to visit her, and she was depressed. I didn't
Mhm.
know this, but there was something wrong with grandma. She was grouchy. She didn't like anything. She was disheveled. It just wasn't her. And I talked to somebody at the at the independent living facility, and I said, "There's something wrong with grandma." And they said, "Don't worry, we're going to fix her."
Yeah.
And I was like, "What do you mean?" And they said, "Well, she is taking a medication. She had COPD, which is a breathing issue, which is why
Right.
she moved there, and it's interacting with her mental health. So we're going to change it. By the time you come back, she should be better." And I was coming back in like 3 months. So I was unsure. But when I came back, she was better. She was like better than ever. In fact, she had a boyfriend. So, this was like
Yeah.
a big deal. And so I was like, that's it. I want to fix grandmas. I'm going to go in this direction. So I switched my trajectory, took the long route to get my undergraduate degree because I switched my major. And then I went into the field of studying aging in psychology. And in that respect, I was looking at everything no one wants to have or get, like frailty, dementia, depression, all of these things that are not what we should expect as we get older, but they were all I knew. That
Mm.
was, what I knew about growing older. So,
Yeah.
um, this was the 90s and nobody talked about aging in any kind of a positive way. Even if you look at television shows, the people who were like 40 looked like they were 80. It was just really, not a positive time to go into a field of aging. It was like the Wild West.
Yeah.
So the things that started out were only things that were negative, which again, made everybody scared to talk to me. If I went to a cocktail party, I was the last person anyone wanted to ever talk to, because I was talking about stuff that was scary. And at one event that I went to, somebody said to me, What do we have to look forward to? You're an aging
Mm.
specialist. Tell me." And I was like, I don't know. Um, I'm, I essentially realized I was putting band-aids on everything we were scared of. So I went back to the drawing board I was a researcher and I was looking. Then I said, I'm going to look at what we have to look forward to.
Yeah.
And amazingly, there was a ton of stuff out there, but nobody picked up on it. This is pre-internet and everything going out socially and virally and whatever. So I was like, I'm gonna get on that bandwagon and I'm gonna tell people what there is to look forward to and start to research that and look forward to that. So that's where the beginnings of where I started to look at mentorship, because that's a stage of generativity, which is an
Yeah.
emotional developmental milestone that we all reach, where we want to give back to others. And so mentoring, volunteering, and philanthropy are all part of that. And when I looked at mentoring, that's the only part where we give a piece of us to somebody
Mhm.
else.
Right.
That's the beginnings of where it went to start the mentor project, because I had no idea how many people wanted to give back to others but had no ability to connect with somebody. Top leaders in all their fields had no one to connect with. And it's detrimental to us if we can't make those connections because we feel irrelevant. We feel like we don't have purpose. Like all that
Yeah.
stuff we did, all those boxes we check don't mean or matter anything, at all. So that was how we got started with the Mentor Project, where there were some really cool, amazing people who said, get me in front of mentees. And that was how we started. Just a few of us like nerding around trying to get people in front of kids who would be excited by science and math.
Yeah, that's great. And also, like, obviously, the journey, like, it just shapes us in a way, isn't it? Like, when you go to hard route, just figuring out like how things, it just makes you more appreciating the career you have. And yeah, great. So, what is the mentor project? Like, what do you guys do in your business? Like, who you help and how you guys help?
So we were formed really. I was curious to see if the theories really held, right?
Yeah.
Are we built to give back? Will people want to give back? Because
Yeah.
everybody told me nobody would. And then, we had these 10 people who were like, I'm into it. And so we formed with just a few people. And then we moved, our whole goal was to get STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and math, um, to kids. And
Mhm.
this was, starting with just elementary students, which is, kindergarten through, say, fifth grade or sixth grade. And we were having a lot of fun, just a few of us. And then a person joined our board. Her name is Jen Snow, and she told people about it. And we moved from 10 to 60 within 6 months. This is
Wow.
mentors, like top
Yeah.
level people saying, I want to mentor. Then to 80 a couple months later, then to 100 by the end of the year. And then we had to like put a wall up and say, okay, no more. We have to put up a waiting list. It was overwhelming that we had so many people who wanted to give back, who were, we have an astronaut, we have astrophysicists, we have artists, we have all these really amazing people who want to give back and for free. And
Right.
so what we do is we connect top level individuals in their fields, like the top 1%, with students around the world who are kindergarten now all the way through university. You can be getting your PhD and get mentorship from us. So it's not age, it's really, are you in school? And so we've done amazing things, helped students patent, launch their, businesses. We have helped students, get internships and jobs, and helped students to learn how to do research that has gotten them published in articles,
Mhm.
and, peer-reviewed journal articles. We've gotten an artist into Tanzania to teach art to a community of 500 people. It goes on and on, but that's really what we do. Our mission is to connect mentors, that people around the world would say, I have no access to that person. Who, like most of us, have no ability to contact an astronaut and say, hey, can you give me some guidance?
Yeah.
We are that place that does that for free. So students around the world can meet the people that they maybe have always said, it's not even in their mind. Like I did when I was a kid, I didn't know there was such thing as a psychologist. We want to open minds and connect people in that kind of way. And we do
Yeah.
that very successfully. So that's what we're about.
All right. That's great. And is your business like a non-profit, you say, or?
We are a nonprofit. We are donation funded organization. We operate every year doing what we can within the, amount that comes in. I have to say, last year in 2024, we gave out $3 million in mentorship hours to students in 5 countries.
Mm.
So it's really um, quite amazing. But that's how we want run. We are a
Yeah.
nonprofit charity.
That's great. And good for you. It's a great job. You're getting a great cause, isn't it? So yeah, I appreciate that for sharing with us. So let's talk about what's the book about, the Mentorship Edge.
So the mentorship edge came about because the term mentor is so loosely defined now.
Mhm.
Back when I was looking at it, it had a regular firm definition, but it kind of got hijacked by a lot of places that have been using the term incorrectly, especially in the workplace. And
Yeah.
so I really wanted to write the book so that people could understand the true definition of what mentorship is and what it isn't, and enormous examples of not just mentorship hierarchically, but laterally, and how we can engage in it so that we can have really unbelievable impact in what we do. And so the book gives examples of how mentorship has saved people's lives. It gives examples, it gives a full definition of what mentorship is, what it isn't.
Mhm.
And it shows lateral mentoring and hierarchical mentoring. And so it really is a comprehensive, easy to read book that can help us all because everyone is mentoring all the time. We just don't realize it. And when we do, we feel amazing because, when people feel that they've impacted the life of another, it makes us feel amazing as mentors.
Yeah.
And for mentees who get mentored and they don't realize it, it's much more powerful if we can thank someone. And ultimately, the some of the biggest mentorship that is out there is not the work kind of mentorship. Nobody's going to remember in 300
Mm.
years about the accounting mentor that a person had.
Yeah.
But we do remember religion, culture, traditions, values, those things that matter to us on the everyday that we carry through as families, that we carry through in the long run. So if you've been doing a tradition in your family, and you go about it and you just take it for granted, think back to how far that went and how many of, your ancestors have carried that forward. It's incredibly powerful, not just for work, but in our everyday lives as well.
Yeah. Yeah, so obviously it's just like the teachers we remember, right? Like probably in a school life, in college life, they did something incredible rather than just teaching the curriculum and just making you pass the exam. It's not about the values, the way they like make us more proud, valuable, or like being someone worthy. And sometimes like his negative impacts happen with like mentors as well. If they don't believe in you, like if give you the more self-doubt, like you are useless, you cannot do certain things, we carry out through that. And I seen like a lot of people, obviously you probably seen as yourself as a psychologist, a lot of time kids grow up with the trauma because some kind of their mentor in a school setting or their parents probably told them certain things like they cannot become nothing in their life, they completely useless, they don't have the brain to do it, or they don't have the things to do it for like whatever they trying to achieve is. And that's just like holding them back, right? Every time they try to do something and they fail, they remember that thing their mentor said, like I am not going to do that, and they need to like work really really hard on the mental state to change the whole way they thinking, the pattern they have built over them years. So I'm completely with you. So in the mentorship edge, like what, how many like chapters in there, and like what kind of area you have talked except for mentorship? Is there any journey of yours, or like
Mhm.
is there any teaching in there?
Absolutely. It has my journey in there. And it has all of these teachings in there. It really is something that when people read it, they say, I understand this now.
Mm,
I get it. And it makes a difference. Like you just mentioned, having a bad mentor.
yeah.
There's no such thing as a bad mentor. That's not a mentor. That is, you do not have a mentorship relationship. If somebody's saying you're worthless, they're not your mentor. That's a jerk.
Hmm.
That is somebody but we label people as mentors all the time. And then we feel like we can't get out of that relationship. And these are the kinds of things that if we can really highlight to people what mentorship is, and the book does show that, it makes you say, oh my gosh, I've been calling something mentorship and it's not. It makes us feel like, why bother?
Yeah.
Or what I'm afraid, or what is a good mentor? There's only a mentor. Like there is no good mentor versus bad mentor. So if I were to define that for you, there's 5 components, and this is in the book of what mentorship is.
Right.
You need to be generative. The mentor has to want to give back to somebody. So if you're somebody who's looking for a mentor and the person's stingy with their information or their emotions or whatever it is,
Mm.
they're not your mentor. Run, don't walk, run away. Likewise, if you're a mentee and somebody's saying, hey, I want to give back to you, and you say, you know what, I don't want to take what you're giving. That's not a mentoring relationship. That's the first thing. The
Yeah.
second thing is it has to be intrinsically motivated. If you're getting paid to mentor, you're not a mentor. That's an extrinsic motivator. If you're looking for an award or a reward or pay or anything like that, you are not a mentor. So if you go to the example of that is if I said, hey, would you like to go volunteer at a soup kitchen, giving out food and beverage for free to people that are hungry and thirsty? You
Mm.
might say, yeah, I like that feeling. I feel good about myself. But if I said, you know what? Instead, I'm going to ask you to go to Starbucks and donate your time to give out food and beverage to hungry, thirsty people. No one wants to do that because they feel like they're being taken advantage of.
Yeah.
And that's the same feeling that a person gets at work. So you're not a mentor if you're getting paid. Third, you need to have a meaningful connection. I have to like you and you have to like me. I'm not going to like you if you're saying you're worthless. You're out. You're not my mentor. Likewise, if I'm a mentee and I'm like, I have no respect for you, it's not a mentoring relationship. And then the next thing is that you have to have trust. If you don't trust the person, if you think that they're going to lead you in the wrong direction, or they're going to steal your idea, or if you tell them that you don't know something, they're not going to give you a raise or a promotion, or they're going to treat you differently, if it's like in your personal life, they're
Mm.
not your mentor.
Right.
And you have to have a goal. So that can be a short term, one time only, or it can be a long goal that changes over time. But most of us, when we think of mentorship, we think it just as a transaction. And so we'll put up with a lot of junk from people that aren't really mentoring us. Or the mentee is
So
like
just to clarify in
half-hearted.
there, like when you mentioned about like when is a transaction is happening and if any mentor like taking money from you as a transaction and they're teaching you something like a you don't call them a mentor, right?
No, I would call them a coach. They
Okay.
could be an advisor.
Hmm.
They could be, any of those things. It does not devalue other things.
Right.
Like a coach is valuable, but if you're paying somebody, they are not your mentor.
Mm.
If they are doing it because they think they're going to get into a college or they think that they're going to get a job if they put in time with somebody,
Yeah.
not a mentee.
Okay.
So we need to differentiate from those things because a lot of people will say, well, I'm a coach and I'm a mentor. No, you're not. Are you getting paid? Would you do it for free? Are you at
Hmm.
Starbucks or are you at the soup kitchen? Like, where are you? And the same with an advisor. College advisors, I do this with my students. I advise them. I get paid to do that.
Hmm.
Now,
Yeah.
if I meet with them outside of my paid hours, then I could be mentoring them. But if I'm on the clock, I'm doing my job and I'm doing a good job as an advisor. So that's where people will say, well, I want to have that, altruistic feeling of mentorship attached to what I'm doing. No, you're just doing what you're supposed to be doing when in your paid capacity. If you leave that out, you're probably a bad leader or you're a bad coach or something like that.
Yeah. Because
That is
it's in
where,
the coaching space, like all of them, coach, consultant, I see their program, they sell online courses, they sell like everywhere you're gonna see like a one-on-one mentorship you're going to get. But obviously they're charging for it. There's a membership fee
and it's not mentoring.
or probably like a yearly fees, whatever the may be. And this is the word people are using. So
Hmm.
so how would like a people can differentiate someone between like someone is telling this way and everyone is charging nowadays, like who's willing to like do it for free? Like how do you find someone like that as a mentor and how do you approach it?
It's easy. Well, first of all, it's a red flag. If somebody says you're going to get mentoring hours one to one and you pay for it, run.
Mm.
And I say this, I'm a coach, right? But
Yeah.
when I'm charging as a coach, I know what I'm doing. And you know what? I'm trying to help a person reach a goal. That's my job as a coach. I don't call myself a mentor in that case. So here's what you do. This happens all the time. You've probably done this a million times and you don't realize it. We forget how powerful our own connections and network are. All of the entrepreneurs in the world do this seamlessly. Every techie out there does this seamlessly. And I give a lot of examples of how this looks, like Steve Jobs and other people who've done this. we are looking to our left and we're looking to our right and finding an expert in an area that is different than ours.
Right.
And we say, can you give me help? I just met with another CEO of a nonprofit this morning, and I asked for her advice, and she mentored me. I didn't pay for it. She didn't pay me. We're two colleagues, and I said to her, "How does this look to you when you are doing this?" And
Mm.
she might ask me on a different front, "How do you do this?" Now that is mentoring. Neither one of us is the boss of the other, but we're still getting advice from each other. She has a different area of expertise than I have and can see things differently than I can. And likewise, if you're in a hierarchical environment and you need mentorship from somebody, you may say to somebody in a different department who's above you, I'd like some help. You may ask somebody above you for help, and you may say, give me the lay of the land. Tell me how I'm new here. Can you guide me through what I should know about this place? And a person could say, you know what, I'm going to do that. This is off the clock for me. I'm going to just take you under my wing. You're not even in my department. I'm going to help you. That is somebody who's mentoring. They're not somebody that they are paired with and expected to mentor. So we can get people, we just have to start to look at who's in our network, who's to our left and to our right, and not take for granted those around us, because most people operate laterally in a really broad way, and that's what gets them to have, it really pushes them up in a really explosive way.
Okay. And that leads to like the next question is if you go to like someone in the same industry and probably they could be your competitor or like be jealous about you, like telling you the advice
Mhm.
or guidance for uh, that kind of work they are doing, right? So how do you like you probably have to reach out to like a bunch of people before you find any kind of mentor, isn't it?
Yeah, it can be. So, I am no competition to the other woman CEO of a nonprofit.
Yeah.
My success does not hinder her in any way, and my failure doesn't do anything to her. So you can get that trust oftentimes from people who are in your network of people that you know, but are not in competition with your job. The
Mm.
competition with the job is usually hierarchical mentoring, where somebody's going to say, I'm not helping her. She's going to get the promotion over me.
Yeah.
So you have to go a degree out. It could be in the same company if it's work related, but maybe a division over, or maybe even diagonal in a direction, someone up a level or two, but in a different department. Because then you do not give any kind of a competitive anything, so that you are not there as somebody they can't trust.
Right. And obviously, like after you find someone, like how would you approach it? Like what kind of question to ask for like a mentoring you because they're giving their time, their energy, and their experiences, obviously in return for nothing. But sometimes like you have to pursue it, or like a like how what will like a best way to approach the point of person to getting all the time because if it's a mentor like you probably catching up with them like every few months or things like that without like bothering them like aren't they
There's
gonna get
never a
offended?
bother.
Yeah.
There's never a bother. Most people think that the mentor's not getting anything,
Mm.
but I'm going to tell you that you get so much as a mentor. This is why people have a hard time asking for help from a mentor, because they think that they're bugging somebody.
Yeah.
But imagine if you were someone who got to a level and you have expertise and no one ever asked you for anything. It's the most horrible feeling for people to feel completely irrelevant. That's how they feel. No one wants any of their info. It devalues everything they've worked for. So if you're asking somebody to give you advice, your job to make it worth their while is to say, I'm going to take that information that you give me and do something with it. That's your job as a mentee, is to take that information. If you're just picking their brain and you do nothing with it, you're
Yeah.
not a mentee. You're somebody that's just bugging somebody. But people don't do that. They're excited to get the information and then they take it and do things with it. So there's all of these mentors out there who, when they see this connection that happens, they feel immortal. They get to feel like they're living on forever in a way through the work that that person or the values or whatever that person is giving. So when you go to make a friend, no
Yeah.
one says, here are the three ways. You walk up to somebody and you say, hey, would you like to be my friend? You'd look like a weirdo.
Yeah.
So instead, mentorship is the same way. You maybe ask for somebody's advice. Like if you're going to make a friend, you say, hey, I see you like that too. Me too. Tell me more about that. You don't come in with a checklist of things that you're asking. So you want to remove that awkwardness and look at your mentor as somebody who's going to potentially be a meaningful connection to you, just like a friend. And we should not expect that everyone is the right match for us, just like a friend, right?
Mm.
Every person that passes by you is not your friend.
Yeah.
But you find that one that you say, that's my person. I like that person. Same thing happens with mentorship. So remove all of those things that you've heard that you have to be a good listener. You have to approach somebody, and not bother them with their time and come in and spend an hour a week. No, treat it like you would a friend. You would never throw your friend under the bus. You'd never do that to a mentor. If you are a mentor, you would be looking out for the best interest of that mentee at all times. That is somebody you care about. So
Yeah.
think of it in that way, and it'll help you to find a mentor just like we find friends.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. So we have a last question before we wrap up here for the podcast. So what will be your number one advice to those listening today? And if they're looking for a mentor, how they start and go about it?
Look to your left and look to your right. You're looking at a potential mentor, and you're also looking at a potential mentee. And look at yourself as someone who's a mentor, just waiting for a mentee as well. We often underestimate our own expertise and abilities.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing a valuable lesson and talking about your book and your journey, Deborah. So we're coming to end of this podcast. Before we wrap up, if anyone wants to learn more about yourself or your business, or they want to grab a copy of your book, where's the best place to find you all?
So you can find my book anywhere. And if you're somebody who likes to listen to books, it's available on audiobook. So, and if you get it from Amazon, I know it's like a one-click thing if you're an Audible member. So it can be free or whatever. So check out the book, but also reach me at deborahheiser.com and at mentorproject.org. And you can also find me on Psychology Today. I'm an expert on Psychology Today.
All right, that's great. Thank you so much for your time and coming to the show. I really appreciate it. I hope everything goes well with you and keep on doing the work you do.
Thank you. And you too.
Very pleasure. Thank you. So that's a wrap, guys. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast episode with Dr. Deborah Heiser. I hope you enjoyed our conversation. If anyone wants to learn more about her, you can find her on social media platform as well as her website. So I'm going to put all the link on the description for you. And if you want to grab a copy of her book, you can find it on Amazon. There is Audible as well. So until then, talk to you in the next episode. Take care.